it out. Today I'm going to do a review, not on a movie. It's going to be over a little thing that I got over the weekend that you may have seen. So the Nintendo Switch, now that I've had a full weekend to kind of have my hands on it and play with it and figure out the things that I like and the things that I disliked about it, I feel like I've come to a conclusion that I can do a pretty good review over the Switch and some of the accessories that I've got and some of the games that I've got. So first, we'll just kind of start with the hardware. The Switch hardware, I was very impressed with. It definitely feels very solid, very sturdy, just a very good quality build. I know I kind of said some of this in the unboxing video that I did, and that still stands true. I mean, as I played it and messed around with it, it still feels very solid. I'm very impressed with Nintendo's work that they put into this thing. And some people have complained about there being smudges and stuff on the back. As you can kind of see, hopefully, mine don't. I haven't really experienced that. Now, granted, I haven't been playing it in the handheld mode very much. I've been having it docked and playing it in the TV mode a lot. But still, I've handled this, and I have not seen that issue at all. So, I do like the placement of the buttons. I'll get to the Joy-Cons more specifically here in just a minute, but the placement is comfortable for the most part. The screen looks amazing. Again, like I said, I haven't really done a whole lot of playing it in the handheld mode. I've mainly had it docked and played it on the TV, but whenever I have played it in handheld mode, the screen is just awesome. The fact that you can take a fully playable like console game such as Zelda Breath of the Wild and take it with you on the go, or just like play it in bed or something like that right here, is incredible. Just the power that is packed into this little tiny device is very impressive. Now, granted, naturally it's not Xbox One or PS4 quality. That's fine, to be honest. I mean, I don't really need it to be that quality. It looks great enough as it is. Now, in a perfect world, it would be cool if, this was right on par with those two. But that's the great thing about Nintendo, is that they don't try to be like that. They're their own thing. They do their own thing. They have their own vision, and they always do well. I mean, even people, myself included, who have had gripes about the Wii U and the Wii, they've still been successful for mainly the core Nintendo fans, at least. More so with the Wii, I would say, than the Wii U, but all their first-party games and content that they've released have been stellar for these consoles. And the Switch, no exception there. Now, I will say that I've heard a lot of reports of the kickstand being too flimsy. Again, I haven't really used it much, and people talk about how cheapy it feels and how it kind of like wiggles a little bit. Now, the reason why it's like that is because this kickstand is designed to break away in the event that you forget to close the kickstand and you dock it, and the thing just goes and just flies off. And so instead of just completely breaking. So it is designed to break away. So if that happens, you can just put it right back in. So that's part of the reason why it's a little bit springy. But all in all, I really like the feel of it. So let's get to the Joy-Cons themselves. Now, they're perfectly fine to play like this if you have them separate. I will say the left Joy-Con, this one here, the one with the minus on it, definitely feels a lot more comfortable because the analog stick is up here at the top. The right one, if you have to do any analog movements on this, like especially in Zelda using the camera, it's not quite as comfortable because it is kind of an awkward reach down below to do this. As you can see, my thumb is comfortably up here on the BAXY buttons, but then, it kind of has to do some weirdness down there, or you'd have to kind of bring your hand down. It can be weird. It's not something that is unplayable. I mean, you could totally get adjusted to it. Just having the freedom, you know, the Wii U, or sorry, with the Wii remote and the nunchuck, you were bound by that cord, so you always had to have them side by side. With whereas this, you know, you completely free roam. I mean, it's pretty cool that you can do that. Now, sliding these into the grip, yeah, you got the Joy-Con grip here. It definitely makes it more comfortable, I would say, especially if you have to, you know, use this little camera or this other analog stick that typically uses a camera in the camera angles in Breath of the Wild. But the fact that it has these kind of grips on the back, it does make it a little bit easier to play this way. See, it's a little bit more comfortable. I would say I would prefer to use them together in the grip as opposed to apart. I know some people gripe that it feels like you're a little too cramped up, but my hands aren't overly monstrous, so it really doesn't feel too cramped for me. But I would personally just prefer this. I don't know if it's just because of the grips in the back that make it a little bit more comfortable to do that, or what it is, but it just feels more comfortable to me than having the Joy-Con separated. But as far as the hardware itself goes, I really think the Joy-Cons are a very good, solid build, like I mentioned in the unboxing video. Now, they are small, and the buttons are small. You know, they're about the size of the buttons that are on the 3DS. So, it doesn't make the console unplayable, obviously, but if you like bigger buttons, and if you just like an overall more comfortable feel, then this bad boy is the way to go. I love this controller. Nintendo really hit it out of the park with this Pro Controller. Now, I have the Pro Controller for my Wii U, and while it was definitely a good controller, it felt very light and plasticky, almost felt like it was hollow on the inside. Didn't really feel like you could do a whole lot with it, and it, you know, it had both analog sticks up at the top, which kind of like the gamepad, you know, just closer together, but it still didn't really feel natural. Whereas this, the moment that I held this controller, my hands just instantly formed the shape that it should form around a controller. I mean, my fingers went to the triggers up top, my thumbs went to the, you know, the right places here, and my other fingers gripped around the back. I mean, it's just a very, very comfortable controller. I can't say that enough. I also really love the fact that it's kind of translucent on the top. I know I mentioned this in my unboxing video. I'm pretty sure the fact that, you know, Nintendo had previous products that were translucent, like the Game Boy Color, Nintendo 64 controllers, and even some Nintendo 64 consoles. But it's just a nice touch that they did that. Now, I've heard that the Joy-Con charging grip, now I just have the regular grip that came with the console, but the charging grip that allows you to actually charge it and charge the Joy-Cons, I've heard that it is translucent, kind of like this is. But this Pro Controller is amazing. This is what I've mainly been using while playing like Zelda, and this is probably what I'll use for just about any game that, you know, requires traditional gameplay. Obviously, with something like 1-2 Switch, you can't really use this, but yeah, it's just a very natural feel to it. And I guess I need to step back a little bit. So first of all, you know, I talked about I like that this has the traditional connected D-pad. Well, on this Joy-Con here that has the D-pad kind of split apart, you know, it honestly isn't as bad as I thought it would be. It wasn't hindering my gameplay, because I did have to switch to this when this died on me a few days ago. Now, I didn't charge this right when I opened it out of the box. I pretty much just played with whatever charge it had from the box, and then once it died, I switched to this while I had this charging. So I did have to use this for a little while, and it wasn't bad, honestly. Yes, the buttons up top, like the R and L button, they're a little bit smaller than how I would like, but at least with Zelda, you don't have to use them too often. You're mainly using the triggers. But yeah, anytime I had to use this D-pad, the way it's split like that, really wasn't a big deal, to be honest. Now let's talk about, I know I'm kind of skipping around here. Let's talk about something else with the Joy-Cons that I've seen a lot of people posting online about, and that's the Joy-Con with the Joy-Con strap. So I've seen a lot of people that are apparently putting these on backwards or just screwing it up. So yes, these Joy-Con straps are reversible. You see that has a plus sign on it. This has a minus sign. So you need to match up whatever side to whichever Joy-Con you're using. So if this has the minus on it, you want to use the minus side of the strap. And then it just slides it right on and down it goes. And then you can push this little lock in. You'll hear a little click. It's not quite the click that, whenever you slide the Joy-Con into the grip or the Switch itself. But anyway, so then there it is. And with this, it definitely makes playing with this controller a little more comfortable, especially because these top buttons. But I will admit that it does get a little bit difficult to take this off. Now, again, you want to make sure this is unlocked, so you just push it down, and then you kind of just push the button, grip it, and then just slide it off. Now, I will say that it has gotten easier the more I've used it. So while these wrist straps are tougher at the beginning, the more I've taken it on and off, the easier it's become. But just make sure that you're matching up the right sides. Don't flip it over to this plus side and then, try to do from the bottom up. Like, people have gotten their straps stuck that way. So just make sure you're matching those. The only times you're really going to need to use those as of right now are certain parts of 1-2 Switch. Not every game on there requires it, but some do, and it'll tell you, like, be sure to attach the strap now. So the Switch, I'm going to try to angle it this way so there's not a whole lot of, you can see my webcam, so there's not a whole lot of stuff on it. See if I can angle this. Okay, there we go. So the screen's not just riddled with everything that I'm seeing. So we got the Switch here, and we've got its predecessor, the Wii U gamepad. Now this is a big, clunky beast. Now, don't get me wrong, I loved the Wii U. I loved all the first-party games I got for it, but this, compared to this, see if I can put them, yeah. I mean, you got big, clunky plastic piece here with a resistive touchscreen, and then you've got sleek, metal feeling, solid, sturdy. I don't know if it's necessarily all metal. I'm sure it's not, but it feels that way. Solid, sturdy, and capacitive touchscreen. So it's like a night and day difference between these two. You can kind of tell that this is kind of what their vision was when they were making this. They just didn't have the means to do it yet, I guess. Or maybe this was kind of a trial for this. But either way, and look at the size comparison. And one thing I need to say real quick, I know people are griping about the Switch charging being on the bottom. I mean, people, obviously the reason why it's on the bottom is because of the dock, because you dock it like that. Now, I guess, they could have made one on the top too, but there's really no need. Like, if you can't play your game comfortably with having a cord down below, then you must not really want to play your game very much. Okay, I can understand that, you want everything to be perfect, because I get that, trust me. But it's really not too difficult to have it plugged in the side and then just have the cable, just reroute the cable. The best part about it is it's USB-C, so you can pretty much get any kind of USB-C charging cable or anything that you want. So if you have one that's kind of clunky and it's uncomfortable to play, like laying down while you're charging it, then the beauty is you can get something else. Now, people have compared it, the fact that the Wii U, it had its charging thing up here at the top. Well, yeah, because it's the way it connected to the dock on the bottom was basically these metal contacts, because it was only to charge it. It was only for power. This has to have the USB-C to the dock because this gets the power and the video. So, you can't really do a seamless dock like how the Wii U gamepad was. But, people like to find the faults in everything, and I get that. I really do. Whenever you spend a bunch of money on something, you really want it to be perfect. And I'm like that in a lot of ways, but I think something like that, with as great as this is, I think you can kind of look past it. So, enough about the hardware and the software. Well, I guess I should have just briefly touched on the OS. The OS is very clean. I'm not going to boot it up and show you. There's plenty of videos online to where you can kind of see what the OS is like. But my camera and the glare, it's just not. You're not going to really be able to see it very well. The OS is bare, but I like that. It's really clean and crisp and just simple, and I love the simplicity of it. So let's talk about some software. So these are the games that I bought at launch. Got Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, got 1-2 Switch, and I got Super Bomberman R. So how are these games and are they worth it? Well, let's go from the bottom up. Now, I'm just going to talk about these first. I'll talk about something else here in just a bit. Super Bomberman R. This game is fun. If you've played Bomberman, if you like this type of game, if you like Bomberman type games, then you will enjoy this. However, I don't think it's worth the price point that it's at. But that's just me. If you are interested in getting a Switch, or if you have a Switch and you're looking for other games to get, Bomberman R is fun, and it is probably, I haven't been able to play it multiplayer yet, but I'm sure it's really great multiplayer. But I would probably wait until it drops in price. Now, 1-2 Switch. There's been a lot of video footage, a lot of the trailers showcasing this one. Now, this game is fun for, having a party, a couple of people wanting to play, just kind of do stuff together. Like my wife and I have played quite a bit of this. And it is fun. It kind of shows off what the Switch can do, and it shows off the Joy-Cons and, the HD rumble and all the little features that it has. Again, I don't think it's worth the full price that it is, the $50, and that's what Super Bomberman R was as well. I don't think it's worth that. I do think it's fun, and it is worth owning, but I would maybe wait until it drops in price. I think that Nintendo probably should have made this a packaged in game with the Switch, sort of like how the Wii had Wii Sports and the Wii U had Nintendo Land. This would have been perfect like that. But they didn't, and of course I bought it anyway, but I still have fun with it. Now, I haven't even tried all the games on it yet. Some of them are really silly, but it is fun. Again, worth owning. Both of these are worth having. They're fun to play. Just, I probably wouldn't spend the $50 on both of them. So you might save your money until they drop a little bit. Now this brings us to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. This game is definitely worth every cent that it costs. If you've ever played Legend of Zelda, or if you've never played Legend of Zelda, this game is amazing for both. For one, it is kind of a different take on Legend of Zelda, well, at least the traditional of what we're used to. It's actually more like a very modernized version of the original Legend of Zelda, because it's so open. You can pretty much go anywhere, explore anything. You're not really given any information, or at least not much. There's very little hand-holding in this game. I really applaud Nintendo for doing that, because a lot of their more recent games, some of the more recent Mario games and stuff, there's just really not so subtle like nudges and hints, like pretty much just helping you get along. And so you couldn't really figure stuff out on your own that much. And with this, I mean, there's so much to do, so much to explore. Not everybody's going to take the same paths to go somewhere. Everybody's going to do stuff in different orders. You don't always know exactly what you're doing. You don't know how to do stuff. You just have to explore. You have to figure everything out on your own. And that's awesome. Now, I do kind of wish we had a new, like, more traditional style Zelda where you're, kind of dungeon crawling. You have a set amount of dungeons. You go to the dungeon, get all these small keys, and then you end up getting a big key or a boss key. Then you go fight the boss, all that good stuff. I do kind of wish we had that, and we probably still will get another one of those, maybe on the 3DS or maybe even on the Switch. But that does not mean that this game is not great. I had mixed feelings about this at first, because I did kind of yearn for that more traditional type Zelda. But the more I play this, the more I'm just like, I'm really having a lot of fun playing this. Yes, I'm dying a lot. I don't feel like I'm very good at it, but I keep coming back to it. and it's just fun every time. Like, I look forward to playing it. I look forward to, oh, what am I going to find today? What kind of foods am I going to cook up today? It's just a lot of fun. There's so much to do. It's going to be a long time probably before I can actually say I'm done playing the game. Okay, so I do have one more game that I want to talk about, and it's a game that I bought on the eShop digitally, and that is Snipperclips. Now, this game is very fun. If you like little puzzle games, it is very, very worth checking out. It is just a very fun game. My wife and I have really been enjoying this one. It's a game where you can play single player or multiplayer, but you know, each person holds a Joy-Con. You're holding it to the side. You know, you're holding it like this, and you're these little people. I mean, I don't know what they are. They're just like little shapes, and there's just various puzzles throughout the game where you can like cut each other into certain shapes to either, you know, solve little puzzles, you know, moving objects around. You might have to be like turn yourself into a scoop to like scoop up a basketball and put it in a hoop, or you might have to cut yourself into a specific shape to kind of form together to make something else to fill in this outline. And then, you know, you can use your shoulder buttons to rotate. It's really a lot of fun, and it really makes you think, and it makes you work together, and it's just very unique, very fun. It's only $20 on the eShop. There's not a physical version. It's just download only. But I definitely recommend that. It's worth every cent of that $20. One more neat thing that I did get, it just came in the mail yesterday. I got this really nice Legend of Zelda book. I don't know if you can read that very well. It's the Complete Official Guide Collector's Edition. Now, I'm not going to use this, you know, as like a, you know, cheats or spoilers to figure out how to get through everything in the game. No, I'm going to figure stuff out on my own. But I love big books like this. I love collector's editions. I love guides. Anybody that knows me, I mean, you can kind of see, I don't know if you can see, but back here, that's a stack of these big books like this. They're not all like game guides. Some are, you know, like graphic novel, compendium type things. I got a couple of big, like behind the scenes type books for movies. I love these big coffee table type books, I guess is what people call them. That pretty much wraps up my review on the Switch. I love it. It's definitely, I know people think it's pretty pricey at $300. Well, I guess really like $350 if you're going to consider getting a game, and then add another $70 on top of that if you're considering getting this guy, which I do recommend. It is a pricey controller, but if you want a traditional controller like this, I recommend it. But anyway, love the Switch. I'm not going to give it like a rating, like an 8, 9, 10 out of 10 or anything like that. I'm not going to give any sort of rating like that because there's just too many factors that I don't think you could have like a true set rating. I'm just going to say that Nintendo did a great job. Nintendo, you really impressed me with this thing. I've been a loyal fan for years, ever since I was a little kid. I've got all of your consoles, even the Virtual Boy. Yes, I have that. And I've loved all your stuff. Now, I've been disappointed by you in the past. There are a lot of things that have disappointed me, but I've always been right there with you. You know, I always get your consoles right when they come out. So I think that you're doing a great job with this, and I can't wait to play more of it. And for those of you who don't have a Switch yet and want one, be patient. I know Nintendo has talked about the stocks are going to keep coming in, so be patient, be on the lookout, you'll find one. And for those who don't have one and don't know if you want one, if I haven't convinced you with anything I've said yet, then go watch other videos or find somebody you know that has one and try it out for yourself. If anything, if you don't get one, it's at least worth just experiencing it, because it is really neat and revolutionary, and it could be the future of gaming. So anyway, if you guys like this video, please hit that like button and share this with your friends, anybody that you think might be interested to hear about the Switch. You know, I've had it for the first weekend now, so this is, you know, I've had plenty of time to really get in with it. So anyway, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.